What is up, everyone? We are back with another episode of Smoke and Meteoras. I missed the first episode. Nothing on Tori's fault. I was super sick like an hour and a half ago, and I'm trudging through. But we are here now, and we are here this week, joined by my friend across the pond, Tim fucking Lee. How you doing today, Tim?
We're doing great, Marissa. How are you? Most importantly, how are you feeling?
Feeling a little better. We're getting through.
That's
We're working
perfect.
on it. All right. Well, welcome. And we start these podcasts off the same way every single time, but I stopped doing that after the last time, so we're going to stop that.
Okay.
So let's just jump right on in, and we're going to go back to the very beginning before you would ever step foot in a ring or even thought about training. But so what kind of kid were you growing up?
Weird is probably the best way to go about it. I was more of a social person rather than kind of like a academically focused. Would I say is probably the best way to describe it. Like I had fun in first set of school before going to high school and everything. But just a generally normal kid, like doing sports, like doing everything when I was a kid. Enjoyed life, had a nice family, things went good. And then found wrestling, and wrestling became a bit of a here we are now, you know.
So were you naturally always the funny one in the room, or was that just something that developed over time?
That took a while. I have to say thanks to my mum, because my mum's generally probably the funniest person I know. And if she ever sees this, she'll probably kill me if I didn't say that at the same time. But she gave me a lot of like wit and things like that. And I think growing up around that all the time, and especially with what she allowed us to watch and influences and things, from like a very young age, I was watching things like Jackass and into that kind of humor, and just sort of people falling over, hurting themselves, thought was funny, and learned a lot over the time that try and be as fun as possible. And then that became sort of the personality I wanted to be. Like a goal of mine in life, daily, I would say, is that if I can make at least one person smile or make one person laugh each day, I've done what my job is. I feel like my purpose is in life. So that's the way I try and live, continue to live, and try and see things in a more positive light every single day and take every day as it comes. So that's the way I kind of got it as well. A lot of trauma as well also builds very funny people. As much as that's horrible to say, trauma is probably one of the things that makes a lot of comedians.
So what was your first real connection to wrestling?
I remember that the first ever proper memory I have of wrestling is I was a kid, and I think I woke up on a Saturday morning and was flicking through the TV, and the first thing I saw was it was SmackDown, and Kurt Angle was coming out. This was Kurt Angle with hair at the time, and I just started watching it and thinking, "What is this? This looks mental. This looks crazy. Like fun, good." And then from that, it was a case of started getting videos like VHS cassettes, tapes. Started finding out more about it, watching it every single week when we could. Staying up for the pay-per-views over here, because obviously we have the time difference, and when you're in America, it was like trying to stay up as a kid was one of the best things. Or we'd record it, have it on a VHS tape, and then I'd watch it after school on the Monday. But my earliest memory would have been Kurt Angle, seeing that and then going, "This looks really cool. I want to keep watching this," is the main thing.
So when you first started watching wrestling and becoming a fan of it, was it more of a connection with the larger than life personalities or the athletic side of wrestling for you?
It's definitely the larger than life personalities. I mean, over here in the UK, it's distinctly there's a couple of sports that are the mainstream, which is, you've got football or soccer, you've got rugby, you've got tennis, loads of different ones, but football was the main one, and that was kind of the thing you brought up on in school, in your social circles and friends, that you want to be part of a football team. You played football at school, you played football outside of school, you wanted to be on a team, get somewhere. It was the big kind of thing that a lot of things were. However, wrestling was kind of like the taboo thing in terms of I find that a lot of people watched wrestling when they were kids and then grew out of it. Whereas I never grew out of it. I had a phase from 2001 to 2003. That was when I found out it was all predetermined and like things weren't as real as they seemed. And that made me fall out of love with it. And I kind of left it for a few years, and then I remember flicking the TV back on once, and it was on, and I was like, "Oh, I remember this. It's like there's Triple H, and there's Ric Flair, and there's all these people." And then I just got back into it again. But it was definitely more just for kind of the characters because I view when I was a kid, a lot of the wrestlers were kind of like what my version of now, like what kids would see superheroes as, like the Marvel superheroes as such. Like, you know, you got your Captain Americas and everything like that. To me, I was like my Stone Colds, my Undertakers, Rock, Mankind, Mick Foley, everybody. Like they were the ones I wanted to watch and grow up and aspire to be or imitate in much as ways as possible.
So, what about those larger than life personalities did you admire the most when it came to the performers who could connect with a crowd?
Ooh. I think it was just being able to elicit a sort of like be able to almost have that control. I think one of the best ways I ever heard it now, especially nowadays, was John Cena said it's about having that conversation, like being able to have the conversation with the crowd. And that doesn't mean actually like speaking to them directly. It could just be things in a match where they're garnering for the attention or they're doing something to elicit reaction. I just think it's so good with learning more about the psychology and like the body language that they projected was what I was interested in because it could be the main thing that when I was a kid that made it stand out that I wanted to be a wrestler was Mick Foley, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. Like I saw what I thought at the time when I was a kid, when I watched that for the first time years later, years after it had happened, because like I said, I only got into it when Kurt Angle started to kind of come around. So I remember seeing that clip and thinking, like, he's dead. Like there's that's if I got horrified by it and then saw that he kept getting up and took more punishment and took more stuff. And I just kind of sat there and thought, well, this guy's a superhero to me. Like people can look at it and go, "Oh no, he's just fucking dumb because he did all this stuff." It's like, no, 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 no. Like that takes resilience, that takes balls, that takes spunk, charisma, everything. For him to be able to get up and look like he's never ever going to give up, no matter what you put him through, that was like the version of a superhero to me. So that's what I always looked out for is just the kind of the actions of people rather than a lot of what they said. It was more what they did is definitely what I was interested in.
And so, before wrestling, what do you think you la, la, da, da, da. What do you think was in store for your future when you were growing up?
Genuinely, I don't know. Because I got into it so young, and then I found sort of this was around about. I've started wrestling when I was about 12 years old, just going on 13. So this is now 20 years later. We're speaking, and I think around that time is obviously I was just going into high school. Um, Still watching wrestling a lot or just getting back into wrestling and finding it. So I think in more of my formative years, I was already into wrestling. So as a kid, it was more, I don't really remember anything else apart from wanting to do something. Even saying like just, oh, I want to be a professional wrestler is like, that's cool. But I just wanted to be involved in wrestling in some way, shape, or form. And the more things I could do or the more avenues I could explore, the better. So whether that was, being an actual wrestler, being a commentator, announcer, I always wanted to get involved in as many things as possible. And I remember that from being a kid is like, that's pretty much all I wanted is just to be able to be involved in it, not as full time, but more just something that I could always be involved in that sense. So I can't actually really remember what, maybe like an astronaut, like a stunt, I think a stunt man at one point, because I liked like I wanted to do video games and video game development or things like that, thinking off the top of my head, because I was really into that. But yeah, wrestling's always kind of been the thing for sure.
So, at what point did you decide to step into the ring for yourself? And what has wrestling allowed you to express that your everyday life hasn't?
Cool. That's a deep cut. Good. So I'd say, yeah, about 12 years old, my mum had found me a school that was about 45 minutes away from here. So I started going there and learning under the drop kicks, was the name of the school here. Um, went there for about 2 years on and off, and then became friends with Will Ospreay. So I knew him from training. We went through training together, and then ended up wrestling in his backyard. The more I saw about backyard wrestling, I kind of got involved in that community. So there was round about 2006 onwards, up until the latest I'd say is 2017. I was more not really doing indie shows and stuff. It was more just backyard wrestling and wrestling with my friends. So if I could wrestle in a garden, I would. If I wrestle in a park, I would. If I could wrestle just anywhere, it was with the kind of culture I grew up on was a very kind of underground thing called the Link and the Global Backyard Wrestling Nation was the two ones that I was predominantly sort of involved in the UK backyard wrestling forums. So a lot of people came up through there. Um, I think you interviewed Tony Deppen like a few weeks
Tony
ago.
Deppen, yep.
Yeah, wrestled him in a barn in York, Pennsylvania, probably about 9 years ago,
Oh,
just for a
jeez.
backyard thing. So I used to come over to like for 3 years straight. Me and a friend, an old friend, used to come over because there was gatherings or super shows we used to call them, and wrestle there just because we all enjoyed wrestling. We all enjoyed being able to just fuck around, hang out, put on some fun matches, and then literally from that, uh, yeah, gained friendships and met a lot of people. Like I feel probably a lot of it was kind of wrestling gives me the chance to I am myself a lot of the time, but definitely more of sort of like a little bit reserved unless I know people in that sense. And I think wrestling allows me just to be myself, try and make people laugh, be funny, and then continue that. I'm a person as well who I find it, and I spoke to I think it was spoke to Mickey Knuckles about this last week. Is I find it very hard to accept compliments about things. So I think like, no, you're just saying that because you're talking to me, or like you're this. And I found like the imposter syndrome is hard to kind of get past and things, but I find I like watching my own stuff back or watching people back and being able to be like, this is what we can do, this is what we can improve on, or no, I found that fun, that's great. I enjoyed it. They look like they enjoyed it, and I like seeing crowd reactions and things to stuff I've done or things I'm doing. Um, because I think a lot of people take it as like when somebody's laughing at you in a wrestling ring, you might think that that's them taking the piss or like fucking you about. Whereas like that's truly all I want. Like my wrestling is I want it to be like a stand-up comedy gig, with a lot of violence involved as well, which is kind of where my unique selling point is in terms of wrestling, is what I'd say. So yeah, I like it for kind of like the chance to be myself. I always say it's myself turned up to about 110, and then maybe an extra percent just for a bit of fun. Is the way it is.
So let's get a little bit more into your character work. Where did the idea for the comedy strong style come from?
I'd never really had a gimmick in terms of wrestling for so long, and then when I decided to try and take professional seriously, I kind of discovered myself a bit more in matches. Like, um, I'm a bigger lad. You know, I don't like to call it the term fat, but I say we have a thing amongst my group of friends. We call ourselves well fed.
You're
You
big
know,
boned.
big boned, and it takes a lot to look this good. You know, it takes a lot of money and a lot of effort to look this good at this weight, is what we say. But I found that like during the start of it, it was trying to do um more fun things, but also get it taken seriously was the difficult part. And then I found that, well, no, I just if I'm just how I am in the ring and think of things that are silly or stupid, and I can make it work and it makes a crowd laugh, I've got to try and hone in on that. And the strong style was because one of uh my favorite kind of wrestling to watch is strong style wrestling, sort of, you know, your all Japan, your King's Road era of things. Like my favorite wrestler of all time is Misawa. And I was always inspired by seeing that. And I thought, well, no one's actually really ever taken the thing of trying to make violent things funny, because that seems like it could be a very difficult thing, but that could also be the niche that I can introduce to things. Whereas I'll make you laugh, but I'll also, you know, knock your teeth out is the way I always approach it when telling people what my character is. So when I found it was sort of trying to get the moniker down. Obviously, a lot of people at the time, we're talking 10 years ago, was, King of Strong style, Nakamura. And then everybody was like, King of this style, King of that style. And I used the King of because everybody did. But then I thought, oh, comedy strong style, that's got a ring to it. It is what it is. It's very to it. Let's just take the King of part of it and then we'll just make it the moniker so that I can just add a load of stuff to it. And you just realize that it's going to be fun, but you're also going to see some very aggressive stuff. And I think that's where people kind of like that flavor of ice cream over and over again rather than it being a flavor of the month. Are you okay, Marissa?
I'm good.
Good. Yeah, but that's the main thing is like having it as a continuous thing that I can develop because now I think I've had that moniker for probably about 7 years with the development and change. And I feel like, especially in the last few years, I've been able to make it my own with things that I do or change it up and have different stuff. So the example being like, um, recently, like months ago, I knew about it, but I was booked in a death match with Mickey Knuckles, and that only happened 2 weeks ago. And at that point, people, there was even people that commented online and were like, "Why are you wasting this booking on a funny, like a comedy thing? This is meant to be death match. It's meant to be violent and stuff." And it's like, I've done death matches. I've done a lot of stuff when I was trying to find who I was. This isn't my first rodeo, but it's my first kind of big opportunity to do so. And we did it. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of a lot of weird stuff for people to see, somebody bleeding so profusely, but still trying to have a laugh with it is a very weird thing. But I find a lot of wrestling fans are already weird in a good way. We're all unique. Nobody's kind of the norm in society and stuff. Wrestling's always been kind of that thing. A lot of outcasts or people like, not in the norm. So, for example, like I said earlier, like in the UK, it's all if you don't like football, what are you doing? Or, and over there, it's kind of like, you've got your MLB, NBA, NFL, and it's like wrestling was always that thing that kind of you grew up on and then grew out of. Whereas if you stayed with it, you were kind of the outcast in that sort of sport
Yep.
world, you know. But I found that kind of helped a lot with being able to bond with people because we've all got the same love. It's not I find people strange or I'm not able to talk to them. It's like we're here for the same purpose. We love wrestling, and we can talk about that. And you can talk to me about what you thought. Like getting all the blood and then just smiling afterwards. People are like, "Are you fucking okay?" It's like, yeah, just had fun. Like it was
Yeah.
cool. It was a fun match, and that's where I want to keep developing the character. Is like eventually more and more will happen. I'm excited to kind of. So I've got a show in July, but it's another death match, but it's going to be a world first, is what we've looked at, and nobody has ever done it before, and it's something that could potentially go go crazy. And I'm excited to. I'll tell you obviously afterwards because we haven't announced it yet. But I'll give you kind of
Okay,
the
so
inside
it's
scoop of
not the
things.
one on the 31st.
It's not the one on the 31st. No, this is the 18th of July for Extreme for CXW, which is my like home promotion.
All right.
Yeah.
So, was there an exact moment where you realized that humor could be maybe your greatest weapon as a performer?
Um, one of the big moments I think, and this was a few years in, I did a show in London, and this was a no ring show. So there was a company that it was called Good Wrestling, and they were very, very fantastic. Unfortunately, shut down now. But they used to kind of give smaller people known opportunities against big people. They used to bring in a lot of talent, and then I was booked on the no ring show. This was the same weekend as a Progress Strong Style tournament. So all wrestling fans are in town. They hear about this. They're like, this is going to be weird. It's a no ring show. Usually they're fun. Um, and I was booked against Gene Money, and there's no footage of it, which sucks. But we ended up having about 7 or 8 matches in 15 minutes because
Jeez.
my character at the time was that I was a good guy trying to join a heel faction, the big heel faction, and I was trying to be a dick, but I was trying to be like happy go lucky with it, and a lot of people went with that. And this one was I kept losing, so I kept changing the stipulation of the match. So I'd lose a normal match first because I just got rolled up and I wasn't ready. The second one was a ladder match, but we didn't have a ladder. So the ref just takes his belt off and holds it above his head. Because I'm only 5'7.75". I'll add the 3/4 because it does matter. 5'7 3/4". I couldn't reach it. Gene just reached up and grabbed it. Ref rang the bell. I got pissed off again. So I was like, no, let's have an I quit match. Ref rings the bell. I don't hear it. And I go, I can't wait to make you say I quit. Rings the bell again because I said I quit. And it was like, it just kept going and going. And we had people like Charlie Dempsey, so William Regal's son, because he was in town, was at the show and thought it was funny. Ricky Shane Page was at the show, which is really, really cool because he was another guy I'd known through Backyard. We'd never met until obviously he has become big in pro. So like having that thing where he wanted to speak to me personally, I go over to him and he's talking to me and I'm like, mate, I already know who you are. Like we used to like interact, or there was things on forums where I saw you do some crazy shit all over. And I think that weekend was like the one where I was like, all I'm doing is kind of like a little bit of stand-up comedy, but adding some intensity into it with the wrestling. And this is really where I'm like thriving in feeling comfortable going out there and doing it. So then I started being able to develop it more and search for it. So I'd say that weekend was like the big kind of turning point of this could work. Let's just keep seeing how much we can turn it up and keep going. And here we are now, and it's gone pretty well.
So, do you feel that people have underestimated you because of your comedy style?
I'd say so. I'd say that, and also my look and my weight probably sometimes can be affected by it. I think there's still kind of sort of like the taboo or the bounds of people saying what they think a wrestler should look like. And I think we need to have a serious conversation about breaking that mold in every promotion, because there's people out there who are super talented that don't fit the typical over 6 foot. Are you okay, Marissa?
I'm okay. My allergies are just kicking my butt right now.
I've got allergies as well. We're living, see, quite in
We're
common.
still here.
But no, yeah, it's trying to break that sort of the norm of you have to be over 6 foot, you have to be muscular, you have to be kind of jacked up and be able to do some of the basic things. And it's like I can do the basic things, but I'm introducing, as I said earlier, the comparison is like the new flavor of wrestling, where it's like we can have fun with this, but we can also make it pretty serious when we need to. Because a lot of the time, I feel a lot of my matches kind of go in a way of people underestimate me or don't take me seriously. And that's exactly what needs to happen. Because the moment they don't take me seriously is then when I start getting serious, they're not expecting it. It ends up blending into a beautiful story, and then we work things out, and it ends up being magic. And I think that's the thing of, there's always going to be these different things in wrestling where there's so many different people from so many different backgrounds, or ethnicities, sexualities, weights, everything. Let them be who they want to be, because there's so many times that it could work out for you, especially with what you're developing on your character. Like I learned a lot from just being open to anything. Like I'll work women, I'll work men, I'll work anybody. Like it's a case of how can we make this entertaining so that a crowd will go, that's something I'm going to remember and talk to my friends about, so they'll come to the next show. Or that's what I'm going to seek out for online. I'm going to follow this person because I really enjoy what they're doing and I found that good. That's what I feel like is the interesting thing for me, because the comedy almost makes it that I've got a lot more freedom in the kind of content I can produce and everything as well. Like I don't have to do these promos where I'm too serious, or I can do things and edit stuff where it's funny bits from a match and making memes out of it, or like clips. Whereas like a lot of people want to be able to post, oh, here's a really serious thing. Like here's my moves from the last match and really, really good. And it's like, that's cool. But here's me like tricking people, or here's me just having fun and making us get out of it. And I think that's kind of like my flavor and where I feel comfortable with it for sure.
And even going back to the whole like the body critiques, we'll say for lack of better terms. Yeah. There's so many big guys that are out there right now that are showing the world that being big means nothing.
Yeah. I mean,
Look
There's
at
so
Will
many
Cruz
people.
right now, man.
Will Cruz, what a dude. What a lad. Love that boy.
Insane.
Sam Stackhouse is another
Sam
one.
Stackhouse is another one. Yes.
I mean, the man's over 500 pounds. As far as I'm aware, he's over 500 pounds. Can hit a moonsault, takes Canadian destroyers, does dives. It's literally, there is no restrictions on if you want to be a wrestler. We have a guy at the moment down at the CPW training hub. He's got cerebral palsy, like completely cerebral palsy. So he's difficulty moving everything, but he's coming to training sessions now and doing stuff that most of the normal guys can't do. And you kind of sat there going like, this is complete proof that no matter what walk of life or anything that you have, there's no disability or negativity that can prevent you from being a wrestler or being involved in wrestling. It is a business that welcomes all, and you have a role somewhere. You can have a role or try and at least get involved, which is amazing. There's so many, like, the restrictions now compared to, or like I say, the restrictions 20 years ago compared to where they've gone now is where there's like a complete massive change, which is fantastic.
And even then, like, even being a bigger person and
Mhm.
seeing some of the moves these guys pull out, like, I feel like it's even more impressive than being a little skinny twig.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
I'm a huge Spot Monkey fan through and through. I will fully admit that, and people hate that about me. But there's this one guy over here that goes by the name of Don Freeze. And the first time
Good
I
lad.
saw him wrestle, I was like, holy shit, this kid can move. And I was like, I want him on my podcast
No, 100%.
immediately.
I saw Dom Freeze for the first time. I think they did a GCW somewhere. It was like when they went to the new state, and then that was where he was
Vermont.
first booked. That's it. Yeah, that's where he's
That
first
that was
booked.
my first match too.
Yeah, and I
And I was
remember
a
seeing
huge
that.
Marcus fan, so I was like, all right, this should be decent. And then I
Yeah,
saw him and I was like, oh, he's kind of a bigger dude. I don't know about this.
yeah.
And then I was like, holy shit.
How fluid he was as well, like just movement wise. I was like, Jesus, this guy fucks. Like
Yeah.
top tier work.
All right. So, what do you think is harder when it comes to your style? Making people laugh or making them care about it?
Oh, I think making people laugh, I have a bit of a specialty in. I think that's a lot easier for me because again, like growing up and being able to I feel like wrestling and a lot of the feedback I received has helped me be able to gauge what kind of help I need with the crowd. Especially a lot of the time with sort of crowd work, that's kind of like my main go to. And I think that's easier for me to do. I'd say maybe trying to get some of them on my side might be a bit more difficult, but I feel like I've got that to a like down to more of a T now. I used to find that um as much as I could do the rest of the moves and as much as I could do these little things, one of the best bits of advice I ever got was I'd had a match and we went out. I think it must have been about 15, 20 minutes. Went the distance, did all the good, like did all load of shit, was taking Canadian destroyers, was fucking throwing each other around, no selling things, trying to do loads of different shit. And then I remember going backstage and Eddie Dennis was there. So he's like one of the big guys who was up in NXT UK. One of the first kind of people over here that went full time with professional wrestling in the UK, which was big at the time it was done. And his main feedback to me was about like wrestling wise, it's great that you can take a bump, but selling is really where you're going to be able to get those people on your side. So he gave me the terminology, and I say this to literally so many people when I'm watching or giving feedback for matches now or watching things is Hogan is a great sell. Hulk Hogan's a great sell. Ziggler is a great bump. If you can combine those two things together, you will become a desirable wrestler and you will be able to just have it second nature. So I started doing a lot more studying and realizing like, well, it is my face is the main thing that I'm going to connect the crowd with. So I found that over time, the more that I realized I could use this and the selling is what's going to get that crowd behind me. And it took a while. It definitely took a while to be able to get comfortable with it. But I'd say that that's where I was lacking, but now I'm up to a more comfortable level with. But I definitely find it easier to try and make a crowd laugh than it is to try and get them behind me. I think the laughing actually does aid that because they find it funny and they don't want to see the funny nice guy get beat up. Um, so that's where I'd say it's easier to make them laugh than to get behind me. Just on that basis is what I'd say.
So you've already said that you are your character just amplified to like 100,
Yeah.
but what specific part of Tim Lee steps through that curtain with you?
I think the part that was always a bit of a nervous kid. I would say that that's kind of the thing, and just looking back and kind of thinking, I know, like when I was a kid, I was a shy social person. Like I would only speak to my family or my friends. It was hard to make friends. I wouldn't even go into like a shop or like a store and buy things. I'd have to get my parents to do it for me because I was nervous to try and talk to people. And I found that pushing yourself outside those comfort zones makes you thrive more than you think it does. Like I get uncomfortable about a lot of situations still to this day, but I know that pushing through it and actually confronting it head on is so much better for me, at least, to then be able to develop personally. And I think there's kind of, I never usually get too many butterflies or nerves when I go through a curtain. Like I'm happy with what's going on. I try and make a joke about it. Like one of the things that I do before I go out as well now, like half the time I tell people to do it because I think a lot of people do it now. It's funny, is you see your opponent, your music will hit, you give them like a fist bump, and you go, "See how their lad forgot everything," and then just walk through the curtain just to see what their reaction is. And I think that for me is like if I can make some sort of funny humor and also trying to make people break in matches as well. I know it could be deemed a bit unprofessional, but there are some times where it's your responsibility to keep serious. It's my responsibility to actually try and break you. So that's where I kind of have the little bit of the old, devil and angel on the shoulders going, do
That's
it.
my favorite part of being a fan. I love trying to break you guys.
Exactly. And the thing is, I can laugh all I want because that's me. But for a very serious, scary person who's trying to keep in that character, and I can just do something to make them break, that warms my heart more than anything I'll ever do. But yeah, I'd say it's just kind of like the little kind of nervous kid that was in me sometimes does there, and I'm just like, we done it. We got past it. We're here now. This is what we used to be like. This is where we can be proud of and how far we've come and how we go out. And then that's the new kind of current me, which is what I'm happy with.
And like going back to the whole breaking character and stuff,
Mhm.
I have two of my most memorable moments. And there was a show that used to run in Providence, Rhode Island that no longer runs. They were more
Mhm.
of like a comedy show, but they were in a bar, so they were very swear friendly. And
Nice.
this particular show happened to be on Mother's Day, so they
Okay.
didn't have a really big crowd. And one of my friends came through. He had never worked the show before, but I knew he was a heel, so I was like, all right, well, at least he can come to me to get heat.
Yeah.
And like he came to me, comes out, just fuck you to everybody. And then like he has his match and he's doing it again on the way out, and he stops directly at me, looks me dead in the eye, and he goes, and especially fuck you. And I was like, you probably fucking would. And immediately his face totally dropped and he just booked it into the back. And I was like, I did not expect that to break you, but that was great.
Well, I mean, honesty is the best policy. Works
And
out
then
nicely.
there was another time there was a match between Tyree Taylor and Drew Gulak. And Tyree's my boy. I love me some Tyree Taylor.
Mhm.
And I was like, yo, fuck him up, Tyree. Get it. And I said it so loud. And Gulak was like, what did you say? And I was like, fuck him up, Tyree. And he was like, nah, say it with your chest. And I was like, what chest, bro? And he was like,
Had to leave that. Had to take it seriously. I'm a shoot style wrestler. I've got to take this seriously, is what he said. But that's it. That's my kind of moments. That's what I love. Is those little things you can just look back on, and those are the stories you can tell, and
yep.
that's
And me and
fantastic.
Gulak have been friends ever since. So, being a comedy wrestler, what is a common misconception that people tend to have a lot?
That we can't wrestle. It's fantastic, and I think that's the thing as well. Kind of the body image thing where I go on to as well is that when people see me for the first time, I like it a lot because I've debuted at a load of new places this year or like in the last 2 years. And it's always nice to kind of come out and have these people look and go,
This guy wrestles.
this guy does what? Like, who the fuck is this? And then you just kind of sit there and go, oh, wait till you see me do a moonsault. You're going to absolutely flip your tits off. And then that happens. And it always seems to be the same thing at some shows is like, you'll get a lot over here, at least in the UK. You have a couple of lads or a couple of boys who come around and they're like, oh, let's go watch the wrestling. They'll come in, they'll watch it, they'll see that, and they'll come up to your ass and go, dude, I didn't even think you could hit a fucking moonsault. It's like, I used to do them when I was a kid. Like trampolines were the greatest thing, and fantastic for me. But I think it is the common misconception is they think that you can't wrestle. You're not going to be able to do any moves. What's this guy going to do? He's big, and then because I can move quicker than move quicker than you expect me to do a lot of different things as well, whilst adding a funny element to it, is where the big difference happens. And I think that's where when I say strong style, because I hit hard, that's where it shocks them as well. Is like this guy's meant to be funny, but he's just taken someone's head off, or he's just completely chopped their tit off. That's kind of the element of why you remember it, and that's what the
Yeah.
unique point of it is. Yeah, so I'd definitely say that it's always they're not going to be able to wrestle. They're just here for the kind of is this thing on the microphone that I don't even really cut promos in the ring or anything. I just go out and talk during a match. Like I said, I treat the match kind of more like I don't plan what I'm going to say. It's something could happen, and then I just have to think on the spot and go, that might work. And it's sometimes very difficult when it's on a family show because, as you're aware, it's trying not to swear. I love a bit of blasphemy. I love a kind of vulgar word. I like vulgar, sayings, phrases, all that stuff. To not say certain things on shows when there's a family around. I think I'm getting better at it, but there is sometimes where you might slip and have to kind of, you end up making kind of a vocal exercise out of it. So instead of saying fuck, you're like, "Blah, blah." And then you kind of, people going, what's happened? It's like, I can't swear. There's a 6-year-old child there. I'm not going to swear in his face. Like, even though I am not swearing at him, I don't want him to learn and go home or go to school, say the word. Where did you learn that?
Wrestling.
Yeah, boy. No, can't be having that. Not on my conscience, at least, anyways.
Absolutely. So, when did you realize that being different could actually be to your advantage?
I think the more so like just in terms of changing things up, it was refreshing for myself, and I think for a lot of people to see it as well. One of the main ones was there was a company over here back in 2018, 2019 called DNA Wrestling. They don't run anymore. They're run by really two really nice lads, David and Anthony. Really, 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 really nice lads. Always checked in on you, made sure everything was fine. Really good runners as well. Had a lot of good talent, and used to give a lot of good opportunities for us as well. And I was booked against Spike Trevay, who's like a really, really, really big heel character over in the UK. And I remember going to face him, and we were going through things, and it was almost sort of me being a bit nervous that I had to be funny because I knew he was going to try and beat the shit out of me, and I knew I had to take a lot of punishment to be able to get to the end result. Was my thought, but it was the first kind of match where comedy strong style had just started kind of developing on what I wanted it to be, and he made it so easy for me to go a long distance in a match, be able to invoke some sort of reaction out of it. And then when he came back after the match, he even said to me, he's like, when I first heard that you said comedy strong style, I was like, I don't get what that means. But we went out there and did that, and I completely understand it now. I understand why it's different. And to me, that gave me the confidence boost of what I'm doing here. This is the moment where I know it's right, and I need to continue down that path because somebody way above, in my regards, had given me such a high praise for doing what I did And that to me was like the feedback or the kind of stamp I needed to be able to go, right, we're going in the right direction. Let's just keep on this train and see how many stops we can get out of it before we have to get off. And that's kind of where I think that match in particular was the one where I kind of went, right, comedy all the way through the match, even up until the point where I need to get some sort of fight back, and then eventually going on to win was the thing of people aren't expecting it, they're not taking me seriously. Oh shit, he can fuck people up. Let's take him seriously, but let's also have a little bit of fun with it. I think I kind of challenged the norm, and I think that match definitely was the one that kind of made me be confident in it and have the gusto to keep on going with it in that sense.
So, one thing when it comes to wrestling, the more and more that I hear through these podcasts, the more and more that I believe when it comes to being a wrestler yourself,
Mhm.
you're more on a journey of more of self-realization and growing into yourself and just finding the strength to be yourself in a community that may not be super accepting.
Yeah.
So, were there ever any periods where you tried to fit in a version of wrestling that just didn't feel natural?
Yeah. Um, there was times where, again, before I'd found what I am now, I was trying out different kind of characters or gimmicks that I thought up on the spot because I had an opportunity and I wanted to be able to try and get something out of it. So it was almost exclusively every single time themed around some sort of video game or like a name themed around a video game. So I think I was TJ Retro at one point, and that lasted for one show. I was AFK as well. Didn't no idea what it stood for, but we thought obviously that's just a gamer term. Um, and then realistically, I thought, well, my name's like my gimmick name is my real name. Like I just thought it's two syllables, six letters, it works. Can fit on a shirt, can fit on a lot of things, and it's easy to chant. I'll just go by my name and then find some sort of nickname down the line. But I definitely had a lot of trial and error. And especially in backyard as well, there were a lot of different kind of characters. I was a terrorist called Tina, and that was just me with a wig on and a bandana. That was one time. I used to have a character called Mildred Hubble, which was I put a sting mask on with a wig, and I used to try and get sexually frustrated in the middle of the ring until I lost. I know this sounds very weird, but this is literally what it was back in the day. Backyard wise, I was called Kamikaze as well. That was my first ever name because I had a T-shirt that said it on it, and I thought that will go pretty well. That's a unique name. Um, but there's been loads. There's been loads of kind of trial and error things of will this work or am I just putting it in for the kind of point um here? And yeah, I'm glad I am where I am now. I'm glad I went through all the experiences I did to to find who I am because being a terrorist woman gimmick definitely opened my eyes to a lot more stuff for sure.
So, how difficult is it to trust your own instincts creatively?
Um I think if you just trust the process and you're confident in your ideas, people will go along with it. I think you also need to surround yourself with people who aren't yes people. And I find that I have a lot of that in my friendship group. Not the yes people, but I have a lot of people that I can creatively bounce things off, and they'll be honest with me. So I know an example being upcoming, I have to film a promo for the match that I'm going to have in July for CXW. And because it's a world first thing, it's kind of like, well, how can we make this epic? And how can we make this fun? And I've had a kind of a good time of being able to bounce off people and go, so this is the idea I have. This is going to be funny, sure, right? And then they're like, I would find that funny if I saw it from a consumer point of view or somebody watching it online. That how can we make this eye catching to watch it and things? And I think I definitely am a lot more confident in it rather than don't trust my instincts anymore. Like I said, it's right. I know who I am, which makes me comfortable in the ability on what I want to do. So instinctually, I think I've got it down. But I always appreciate the fact that I have a good group of friends or a good social circle, especially in wrestling, where I can have honest feedback on ideas, especially if I suggested something I would be told it's shit, and I wouldn't feel bad about it because at the end of the day, if they tell me it's shit, I'm thankful then I didn't go through with it so that I don't have to deal with any sort of negativity or feeling bad because I committed to a shit idea in that way.
So, what is something that you've become more comfortable embracing about yourself over time through wrestling?
Um, Probably I'd say my abilities in what I can do and what I don't have to do. As much as I mean, like wrestling is a business where you're never ever going to stop learning anything. I think the moment that you think you've learned everything is the moment that you should probably retire or probably hang up your boots, because with wrestling being such an ever-changing world, I mean, 20 years ago it was different to how it is now. There's so many different things like penultimate moments or pinnacles, pardon me, in wrestling where the business changed. Like 20 years ago, it never used to be possible for somebody in the UK to be proper full time with wrestling. Now it's a lot of people's jobs. 20 years ago, you probably would have had very different humor and things that weren't regarded as offensive being in wrestling. And now, there's a lot more difference in people that are involved in wrestling, a lot of neurodiversity, or people that have ailments that they don't want people to kind of use in a sort of gimmick sense and things. And I think it's always evolving and always changing. And that includes in the ways that you do things in the ring and also outside the ring. I think social media did a big change for it as well. Again, like you compare it to what it used to be. It used to just be you'd get a booking, show up, that'd be it, done. You wouldn't have to post anything about it online because it would all be taken care of by the promoter. But now in wrestling, it's you as a wrestler, you're your own business. You have to sell yourself for people to book you, for people to want to come and see you, to sell tickets for shows, sell merchandise, everything. You have to treat it as your own business and promote yourself as much as possible, which is a completely new dynamic to obviously how it was sort of 20 years ago. And I think learning about that is that it's always going to be an evolving business, and you kind of have to try and see if you can keep riding that wave. And that's even in sort of learning things. And I think for me, it's in wrestling, I don't have to do the things, most of the basic stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of over British here, like when you see a British wrestler, still one of the things is that you're expecting them to be very technically gifted. They're going to know a lot of the British style and everything. Whereas for me, I was like, I did all that and it didn't suit me. So as much as I can do things like that, I know where my strengths are in sort of doing moves that people wouldn't expect a person of my size to do, or somebody that is my character wouldn't do, and then changing it up to either make it funny or again evolve as we constantly can as well.
All right. So, do you think authenticity is something the fans can sense immediately?
I feel like they're clued up enough now that they can with certain people, but I feel like again, wrestling is one of those things where you think you know somebody, but they can always come out and be different behind closed doors. Um, we had the speaking out movement. We've had a lot of things, especially in recent weeks with
Yeah, I was going
big,
to say we're having another speaking out movement as we
yeah,
speak.
yeah, with like big wrestlers who everybody kind of respected and looked up to now being exposed for different things and not caring about certain people or their trainees and
Or even
so on and so forth.
promoters.
Yeah, and I think I try and just be me, and I think that's what helps with my character just being me. Is that like when you meet me at a show, or when you talk to me on a show, when I'm talking to you now, or like when this is just me. I try and uphold morals and values because there's respect, there's everything. I think wrestling for me is fun, so I want to continue to be fun. Whether that means it sacrifices me having to, you know, not get on bigger shows, or oh, because you're like this and you don't want to be one of the boys or things like that. Not that it's happened, and I'm not saying it is. It's just I would never want to be in one of those situations because I'd always take the ground of I'm me, deal with me, or don't deal with me at all. Like I'm honest with people. I don't expect any less from anybody else. If you're going to lie to me, great. That's your choice and your prerogative. Deal with it. That's your life. Um, I'll always be honest and upfront and want to talk about things. And if I ever have a problem with anyone or someone's got a problem with me, I always say to them, talk to me. I'm always going to speak at this level. I'm never going to shout, try and raise my voice, or be a problem. It's I'm happy to talk things out, whether we come to an agreement or whether we agree to go separate ways or we agree to disagree. That is just how humans work. But I will pride myself on the fact that I would say I'm not trying to be a dick to anybody, or I'm just trying to be having fun in wrestling, fucking about with my mates and seeing where it takes us. And that's what I love about this.
All right. So let's get a little bit more into some of the moments that have stuck with you throughout your career.
Mm-hmm.
So for this first question, I'm not going to refer to your career personally,
Okay.
but just a moment that you've seen since you started wrestling. So is there a wrestling moment that changed your perspective on wrestling?
So the obviously the aforementioned one was the Mick Foley and Undertaker thing. That's kind of what got me into it. My definitely formative years when I started getting into it. One of the big things was Tournament of Death 2. So I have you can't really see it, it's there. It's reverse camera, isn't it? Yeah, there. So that is just a tattoo of Zandig and Sick Mondo.
Oh, sick.
And that's when they went off the roof at Tournament of F2 through the light tube log cabins and tables. Yeah. I was a kid. I managed to convince my dad to buy me the DVD because I wasn't obviously of age. And he was like, what's Tournament of Death? And I was like, it's just wrestling. They just call it Tournament of Death because it's, it's just hardcore wrestling, with like chairs and stuff. And then I've obviously put it in. I put it into my PlayStation 2. I watched it. And I remember just watching this going, oh my God. Like this is brutal. This is just a lot of men fucking each other up. And then it got to that moment, and I saw that happen. And I remember it's like those things where you see it in kind of like B-roll shots of films or things like people going back to their childhood and seeing things on the TV, and they're just sat there like open jawed looking at the screen. And I remember just sitting there being like, "What the actual fuck? Someone's dead." And then for him to,
I had that as a moment recently. Yeah. Like, I'll get into that after.
But it was like seeing that and then him get up, finish the match and win, and then later on go on to win. I was like, that is where I think wrestlers are superheroes or wrestlers are superhuman, and we're different to other people, because to commit to that for entertainment purposes, to put your body through all this, was one of the things where I was like, that is just adrenaline, and the adrenaline I like. So that's what got me into sort of the deathmatch style of things. Now I've loved it over the years. And now being able to be involved in it and say that I've faced Mickey Knuckles, who I used to watch when I was like 18 years old, is like, it's mental. It's fucking crazy shit. And I'd say probably the other big moment, like other big moments, if I could reference one more, would probably be when I went to AEW when they had All In over here at Wembley Stadium, and seeing Ospreay versus MJF at the year before's one. For me, that's like, to describe it as a surreal moment is pretty crazy, because it's like, that's a guy we used to sit there eating pizza, watching like AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe. And then he went on to face AJ Styles, went on to face all these people, face Samoa Joe and shit. And then he gets to wrestling in a stadium that he talks about when he was a kid, come out to Ezio from Assassin's Creed introducing him and being able to meet him and all this shit, and get to wrestle in front of the home thing. I was like, him coming out, I just remember turning to my friend and being like, it's great. Like, that's so fucking sick. Like, it's never going to be a thing of when, like, I think that's the thing as well, is like, there's no jealousy. I'm just proud of being able to go, that's a mate. Like, that's a friend who fucking can do that cool shit. And that's kind of like a big surreal moment for me in wrestling, for sure. But what was your big one?
So I have that too. I'll get into that too. So going back to the whole jaw-dropping moment, I still like to say I'm a bit of a newer fan to deathmatch. I found it a little late in life, but I believe this is an incident that had happened in the UK, but just recently, Tim Strange and Tate Mayfair's
the fucking gusset to the side of the head
plate spot. That was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yep, there's my bloodlust for the day. That's filled for the month. We're good.
That filled it for the year for a lot of us. A lot of us were terrified about that for Tim. So
And then my kind of full circle moment as a fan, I got into wrestling very young, and I started with independents. So I wasn't into WWE or any of that
Okay.
stuff. I was watching my local people. And when I first started going to shows like religiously, Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné was huge on the scene back then.
Yeah, because
And
you said you were based in Rhode Island, so I know a lot of
Massachusetts. Yeah.
so I know like
So
a
same
lot of the
state.
a lot of the backyarders that I knew
Yep.
were wrestling for Beyond Wrestling when
Yep.
they
And that's
started out
local
as a
to me. That's
promotion.
literally 10 minutes up the street from
Yeah,
where I live.
small world. See,
So I had actually had the chance to see Mercedes debut for AEW in Boston, and
okay, yeah.
I'd gone with my fiance at the time. Well, my boyfriend at the time. He's my fiance now. And
Congratulations.
I was so like overwhelmed in that moment. I couldn't help but cry. I bawled like the littlest bitch in that crowd. I don't even care.
You're
But
not a bitch.
my fiance just came home for his break and he's sitting here giggling in the corner because he knows it's true. But that was like my first like full circle moment because she was somebody that I'd grown up like watching as a kid on the indies
Yeah.
and finally seeing like make it to the big scene. Like I didn't get the chance to see her in WWE like in person, which would have been
Mm.
cool as fuck. But getting the chance to see her debut for a new company, especially in her hometown,
In the big
and
arena, it
seeing
was
the
the
work
Garden,
that
wasn't it?
she's done now is
Yeah.
just it blows my mind.
Yeah, but it's nice. That's like like you said, like the surreal moment of seeing someone that you bonded with. That's the connection that you had with them the whole time, and then you followed them and had the opportunity to see them for the first time in such a
Yep.
big moment in their career, as well as your fandom of them. Is like that's sick. That's fucking sick.
Exactly. Like seeing the guys that I've seen wrestle now getting signed, like that's like the most rewarding thing to me as a fan.
Hundred
I just
percent.
like seeing people chase their dreams and achieve them.
Yeah, 100%.
Like one of my best friends just recently got signed to AEW, being Alec Price, and
Oh, Buster and the Brain lads.
him and Jordan have been tearing it up. They just had a match with Beyond this past weekend too. That match was ridiculous, but every single time they go out there, whether it's on TV, on the indie scene, wherever they are, their matches, they go hard every fucking time.
Absolutely. They have a fucking ridiculous work rate. I think I so on Twitter I used to post like this was a weird thing because I don't want to take credit for it, but I will take indirect credit for it. So I think there was just a point where I thought a lot of people haven't seen how many people have actually come from backyard wrestling and also the mad shit that used to happen. That's not just where years ago it used to be kind of this is garbage wrestling. All they're doing is just fucking jumping off ladders, jumping through tables, all this shit. It's like, no, there's some fucking sick shit that happened in backyard. And I started posting clips with like timestamps or like this is the year, this is where it was, this is the state, here's the wrestlers and what happens. And when that started happening, Jordan Oliver started like talking to me and saying about things, and I was like, this is cool because this is a fucking small world where he definitely used to watch this shit and be involved in it as well. And it's so cool to see how a community that I thought was as much as it is worldwide, it was so small with who we knew and whatever, to like see Tony Deppen doing great, Alex Zane, like Jordan Oliver, a couple of other people. We all came from the same thing of we liked wrestling so much that we wanted to just do it anywhere where we could for minimum to no pay, but we did it because we wanted to just have fun and hang around with our friends and get experiences that we remember for a lifetime. And seeing
And
people like that do
yeah.
great, it's fantastic.
And like I don't realize how big like the backyard community is because I mean it's not a lot that I see, but like in
Hmm.
my mind, growing up, like the backyard community, like back in the day, we had backyard wrestling, like a game on PlayStation, and I'm
Great
pretty
game.
sure it was the ICP. Like it was
Great game.
all ICP.
Exactly.
That was my idea of backyard wrestling. So like when I first started seeing like Tournament of Death and stuff like that, I was like, this kind of feels like backyard wrestling, but they have an actual ring.
Well, to give you a bit of a weird one, is they did Australia
Hmm.
had for a few years they had a backyard deathmatch tournament called Tournament at Hate. If you ever YouTube it and watch them, it's it's fucked. They go for it on literally a base that's made out of tires. Just I think it's tires, mattresses,
Oh, jeez.
plywood, and a bit of carpet, and then they put like a tarp over it. That is literally all they do, and they fucking go for it, and they have people going like some mental spots and shit. But that is the backyard, and there was people who flew over from Canada to go to Australia to do the backyard wrestling, not getting paid, nothing. They just flew over because it ends up. This is what we did when we went to America. So it was when we used to fly over, we'd fly over for like a week or 2 weeks or like 10 days or something, and we used to just combine it as like, well, we've got a super show this weekend, but we'll fly in a few days early, and then we got a few days afterwards. So what we'll do is plan things to do that are kind of touristy or things that we want to do during the time that we're off and not wrestling, so we can make it a holiday as well as we're wrestling and having fun with it as well. And we always used to do it kind of around WrestleMania time, which made it easier for us in
To
terms
get
of being able to
booked.
do stuff. Yeah, like just in terms of going to, it was all backyard, never got booked,
Yeah.
all backyard shows. So it was like I wrestled in a backyard in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We wrestled in Cooperstown, New York, in a field that was right next to the mountains and a river. We wrestled in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and that was in like an abandoned factory with a
I
boxing
probably
ring that
know
was,
where it is.
yeah. And it's just all these places that we did, and it was like, why did you, like, people go, why would you do that and not get paid? It's like, because I literally have some of the best experiences and things where I got to hang around with people who had the same mindset, and we just put on cool matches or we just did fucking stupid shit because we know it's being filmed, it will look cool, and we get to watch it back and go, do you remember that weekend? Yeah, I did this and this with my friends, and it was like sick because we got to go over and then tell them about the rest of the week. And it's like memories that I will always cherish forever. And I absolutely would never change a thing for it. But the backyard community is genuinely the reason why I am still here and like still living as well, because they were generous enough to be able to be supportive, always back you, always be friendly. You know, we went over in plans of just, we booked flights and they'd let you stay at their house. You know, I stayed on a food, I think it was like stayed on a fucking futon for 10 days because my friend just wanted me to stay with him. Yeah, cool. Absolutely. I get to go out and see friends and be in another country. That's fucking sick. So backyard wrestling is the reason why I am still going. 100%.
So, speaking of the memories, what is a match or interaction that you've had that you will never forget?
Ooh. Um, I definitely think backyard wise, I would say it's me versus a guy called Rad Hazard. He now wrestles professionally. He's one of the half of a tag team called the Stepdads, and his name's Radley Belmont. Lovely
Okay.
guy. Really, really, really love him. And he's based out of New Jersey way. But I remember me and him just had a match. We went for it. He was not well. Distinctly, I remember he was losing his voice, and I think he had some sort of flu. And we still went out there and beat the shit out of each other and just fucked around, did all this, and we had to have it as pure rules because of the belt that was on the line. But we basically just fucked each other up. And I can go back and watch that still now and be like, I'm very, very proud of that match. Uh, and I will still show people it as well, which is fun. Professionally, I'd say there's some weird interactions, which are funny, which are good ones. Like the first time I ever met Rene Dupree, um, that was strange because obviously I'd watched him when I was younger. To then see him just sitting in a pair of Y fronts, asking if somebody had a weed vape around, and then just going outside in said Y fronts to smoke the weed vape was a bit of a strange one. Um, but yeah, it's definitely like there's been times where you meet people who you watched as a kid. Like I was super excited once when Gangrel came over and he was working on the show that we were doing. And the promoter knew this and was very, very much like aware. So I'm standing talking to my best friend, who's probably watching this, Benson. So hello, Benson, if you're watching. He basically came over and went, "Oh, this is one of your biggest fans, meet Gangrel." And I turned around and he's right in front of my face, and I'm like, "Hello." like shit. Like this is I used to fucking love you when I was a kid. I used to like drink like we had like cherry drink over here, and I used to drink it as a kid and spit it out in the garden and stuff. Like because I was like fucking love Gangrel, and being able to meet him and then just have a normal conversation with the human being that portrays Gangrel made me feel like fuck that's sick. The other one I'll end it like the last one I'll end it on was um the Necro Butcher coming over here for the first time. So obviously Necro Butcher, very, 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 very genuinely nice guy to people. I won't ever have a bad word to say about him because he's never treated me with anything apart from respect in wrestling, given me advice, talked to me, and he always just wants to kind of have a laugh about things as well. I remember we were walking back, so we were walking down to the bar, like walking to a pub after he'd had his match on the first show he did over here, and he was talking about his match, saying, "Oh, I had to put the kid over because that wasn't the original plan, but he just changed in the match to put him over." And the way they won was via just a backslide pin. He let a guy backslide pin him for the finish. And I remember that because of my friend Benson, is the finish to Kerry Von Erich versus Ric Flair from Clash of the Champions, where Kerry Von Erich wins the title in his home stadium. So we always call the backsliders the Benson special because if it wins, it's meant to get the big pop. I said in front of Necro, "Oh, you did the old Von Erich Flair, didn't you?" I wasn't looking. He laughed, but as he did, a regular, when you like somebody, you make someone laugh and they just slap you on the shoulder and pat you on the back. He chopped me laughing, and honestly, it felt like someone threw a sledgehammer at my chest because I had to kind of no sell it because I thought, have I just been stabbed or fucking attacked? And then turned to see Necro Butcher laughing his head off, going, "Oh, I just made him laugh. Why did I almost die because I made him laugh?" And live to tell the tale. But yeah, I think wrestling's given me a shit ton of fun interactions and things, but those are ones that kind of stand out for me. But professional wrestling wise match to stand out, two come to mind, which would be me versus Chris Tyler versus Jake McCluskey for a belt called the Kings of Flight belt. That was like kind of my first real big outing in professional wrestling where a lot of people were like, "Oh shit, this kid can go. This is fun." And it kind of made me go, "Well, I've made my place here now, so let's keep the ball rolling." And then a recent one would be me versus a guy called Duffer. We had a championship match at a place. I lost my main belt to him. I lost the heavyweight title to him, but we went out there with the idea that he's one of my best friends. I wanted it to make it emotional, and I wanted to kind of prove that because of our chemistry as friends, we could have a really great match. And we ended up having a fucking absolute, it was like over 20 minutes, like 25 minutes or something like that. And we went for it. At the end, we were crying. It was all like trying to put emotion and things and just give it a thing of here we are, here's two best mates. We don't hate each other. It's a face versus a face. How the fuck can we make this an epic? And I feel like we delivered on it. So that's definitely a notable one that I'll cherish for a while for sure.
And the more and more I talk to people, the more and more I realize almost everybody has a memory with Gangrel.
He's the best. We call him Gangers. We love saying Gangers over here. We can shorten it. Tajiri as well. New nickname if you want it for Tajiri. We call him Tadgers. Just because it sounds better. But what the fuck's Gangers up to today? Oh, he's flying to another city. What a lad. Love Gangers. Big shout out to Gangers.
So there was a promotion that I used to work for, and like even just being a kid, like Gangrel would always be up here doing like special appearances or just popping up. And like after the first couple of shows that I had worked with him, we were in the locker room one time, and he just comes up behind me as I'm like doing my makeup and getting ready, and he goes, "Marissa." And like I didn't know he knew my name at all. So I think it's just one of my buddies behind me, and I turn around and I'm like, Gangrel's the only person behind me. Somebody's fucking with me. It wasn't Gangrel. And I go back to doing my makeup, and he goes, "Are you just going to ignore me?" And I turn around, and he's still the only person in the room. And I'm like, oh, so that was you talking to me? And he goes, yeah, hello, who the fuck else was it gonna be? And I'm like, I didn't know you knew me by name. Like, I'm sorry. I thought like my buddies were just fucking with me. And he's like, why do you put so much damn makeup all over your face? And I was like, it's coming off in 20 minutes, bud. Don't worry about it. And we go off and we're sitting there. And like he comes back the following show and he's like, there you are, cake in your face again. And I'm like, don't start with me. And like every time we've interacted, I'd always called him Gangrel. And he turns around and he goes, my name's not Gangrel. Call me my name, god damn it. And I'm like, I don't even know what your name is. That's why I call you Gangrel.
How do you not know the
And then
man's
like
name?
he told me his name. And every time since, if I call him Gangrel, he will like scream at me for it. And he's like, you know my name. Use my name.
Shoot name is what we need. Shoot name.
Yes.
What a lad. Love gangers. Big up gangers.
So, has there ever been a crowd reaction that genuinely surprised you?
God. Trying to think if there's anything I've done where it would have had something that would have been a surprising reaction. I mean, probably me versus Mickey like a few weeks ago would have been the one because it was a real test of we're just trying to be funny with a lot of blood. Like it's a very niche thing to kind of go. We're really hurting each other, but we're trying to make this funny. So especially when it's like quieter bits, I think that's where people panic. And I learned this because when I turned 18, like up until I was about 21, I did stand-up comedy. So I'd learned some things from that on kind of reading rooms, reading crowds, and trying to handle that way. And I think one of the things that a lot of wrestlers could kind of learn from is that when crowds are quiet, it doesn't mean that they're not enjoying themselves. It means they're listening. It means they're focused on what you're doing. You need to give them something to elicit that reaction. So I think for a lot of me and Mickey, it was kind of like, this is more of a stand-up comedy set with a very, very tweaked amount of violence in it that people are going to have to get on board with. And I think there was just some bits, because especially there's a video that Mark Ashley films, who's one of the really, really top videographers over here in the UK, does a lot of stuff. He's worked for AEW and things as well. He gets really, really sick footage. And to see he'd made a reel of me and Mickey because it went viral on one of the Pazuzu is dead. Lee Murphy, one of the guys, he's a really big deathmatch fan, follows the deathmatch wrestlers from the UK all over, even went to like Vegas to follow them. And he just films little clips and puts them out. And he does it within like hours of the show. So like you've got your footage there, you got things to look forward to, because it's like wrestling's a notorious business for, at least a lot of the time here, is where's my footage? I need this to be able to put to promoters. And they'll be like, come next week. And he's still waiting months later. But this Lee Murphy lad and Mark Ashley now, they are on it because they want to capitalize on getting good footage out straight away. And I think there's a bit in me and Mickey where she's down on the floor and like the crowd's quiet, but I'm just like, fucking hell, Mickey, you fucked me up. Like Christ. But I'm doing it because I know if I just react normally to it, people are going to be like, I don't know whether to take this as like scary or if this is funny because you've got a lot of blood on you and you're just okay with it. And it's like trying to kind of gauge those experiences. That was definitely one of those ones where it's a unique crowd because they're waiting to hear what you're saying and then want the violence. It's kind of like a weird way to go around it. Like with death matches, mostly you're expecting a lot of fuckery, a lot of shit, constant whoa moments or big oh my gods. Whereas that one, it was like dinner and a show in a way. You know, dinner is the comedy, the show is that we're making each other bleed and being extremely violent with one another. But that's where I think is probably the most unique way in sort of a difficult crowd to gauge how it's going to be, and then ended up working out perfectly. So I was very happy with it.
So, what is something that maybe meant something more to you than the audience probably realized?
Just anybody who comes up and says I've had a good match or enjoyed what I did. We had it a lot, like especially these last 2 weeks where the thing with Mickey went viral. Like I think we overall in the videos together combined is about 300 to 350,000 views that it went with. And to me, that's like the biggest thing that went viral. Like, never had that exposure before. Amazing that we got it. Mickey was really happy. Mickey's been happy with it. I've been able to kind of be more confident and capitalize on trying to post a bit more and things on my story or just try and learn how to take advantage of this. And myself and two other wrestlers, there's one called Carnage, who's my tag partner, um, and Mordecai Shaw, who was another guy who's coming up in the UK deathmatch scene. We went up to a show 2.5 hours away from us, at a promotion called Kumite. And they're like the Northern Deathmatch promotion who've only just come kind of back. They have like seasons of wrestling, so they love. And then we wanted to go up and support the boys, but we also obviously wanted to go out for networking purposes. And like walking in there and just trying to be, we paid for our tickets. We just walked in, wanted to talk and stuff, and having people come up to you and be like, "Oh, Tim Lee, this is really fucking sick. Saw you do this thing with Mickey. That looked fucking mental. Like the thing you did with the dick and." Crazy stuff to say out loud in a normal human being, But it's like having those interactions and everything is pretty cool because it's just like how do I gauge that? How do I deal with these things? And that's been kind of like the unique thing that's come from it is what I'd say.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson with going to deathmatch shows. People talk about other deathmatch shows and people use lots of weird weapons.
Yeah.
And I remember my very first deathmatch show. I had no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
And like standing around waiting for the show to start, I overheard a conversation behind me. And somebody was like, "Oh, did you see that spot with the drill dough this weekend?" I'm like, "What the fuck did I just hear?"
A drill dough?
A drill dough. And I turn around and
Noted.
I'm sorry. A drill dough? And they show me the clip, and I don't know who was in the clip, but I shit you not, it was like a literal drill, but like it was a dildo on the end of the drill. And I'm like, that's funny as hell, but that's also a sick spot.
I need to do that, is what I'm saying. That's the way. Look at that. Effects, eh? Crazy.
And my first deathmatch show will go down in history as like one of the most memorable shows I've ever been to. And the most traumatizing show I've ever been to.
Yeah. I mean, you learn your lesson. That I think that's the thing that like I'll say as well to kind of give credit to deathmatch shows. There is such a unique community of fans that go to just deathmatch shows that any show you do around, they will follow you. They're that dedicated. It's like that level of fandom where they will spend their money to support you on merch, to promote your stuff for you, to show it to other people. But also, you could be like, especially in the UK, being a smaller country, but for us, like North and South is a big divide in where we want to go. But you could like drive 4 hours up north and be like, right, we're going to go do this show, and they'll be there because they're just like, we love deathmatch. We want to keep seeing this. We want to keep supporting the scene because this is what we enjoy. They're so dedicated to being able to follow you around, but also support the fact that you're putting your bodies through this. I always have a different kind of respect to deathmatch fans who are dedicated that much as opposed to like wrestling fans who kind of have a more casual approach to it. I think deathmatch fans have a different dedication and sort of attitude on how they support people, which is mental. It's fantastic. So
1,000%. And there's fans that are out here. One specifically who's my boy. He may be creeping in the chat. I don't know. He usually is, but my boy Deathmatch Gypsy, he's out from California.
Mm-hmm.
But like the biggest deathmatch promotion out here that's constantly traveling is now known as NHB, but was ICW.
ICW, yeah.
And he's gone from California to Chattanooga, from California to Atlantic City. And like these are like 36-hour drives, if not slightly shorter or slightly longer. And like they're taking him days to get there. He still goes regardless.
But
And like
this is where I'd like.
The last Atlantic City show that he had gone to, it took him like a week to get home.
Is it? So this is a great question, just logistically wise. Is it not going to cost you less to have a flight there than it is to drive?
I mean, nowadays gas is fucking expensive, so like
Here as well,
flying
yeah,
would probably be cheaper now,
yeah.
but like at the time, driving was probably cheaper.
It's the concept of driving for Americans is great. Like a 3 hour drive to us requires like we need a bit of a rest. But I know people, especially from American friends, and that is like I could do that every day if I wanted to. Like fuck, I'll tell you something. Fuck that. There's no way I'm doing that shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, like me
But
and my fiance currently live an hour away from each other, and
mm,
we make the drive every week, but luckily I'm moving in with him soon. So we
congratulations.
won't have to worry about that. Thank you. But yeah, no, there's been like I've been basically based in Worcester for the past 10ish years, so to
Yeah.
say. And I've gone to shows in New Jersey. I've gone to shows in New York. Like I think the farthest that we've driven for a show is 4.5 hours. And it was solely because I wanted to meet Ty Conti. It's the only reason we went.
Not a bad reason.
And we went, I met her. It was great. I cried. Some of my friends were on the show too, so it was cool to get to see them in a different environment. But it was fun as hell. And
Mm.
I'm constantly always wanting the opportunity to go like outside of my region to
Yeah,
see how
100%.
wrestling is different because from even just in the states itself, like the Northeast scene is totally different from the Southern scene.
Yeah.
So just getting to see like the different styles and the different territories is something I've always wanted to like travel around and get the chance to do.
Yeah, but that's the good thing about wrestling is it's everywhere, isn't it? So it gives you those chances to travel, but also you can meet so many good people doing it. Like getting in those road trips as well. Like I fucking love a road trip. And getting to do it over here, especially when I got to do it in America when I was doing backyard stuff over there, it's like just sightseeing wise, it's always interested on the drive. That's always what I enjoy the most.
Yep. And like, I've only ever really done like one road trip with like wrestlers,
Hmm.
but some of you guys are so forgetful or just like super anal about making sure you have everything. Um, I took a trip down to New York with Tyree and Alec.
Hmm.
And this was right after Alec had won one of the like the belts from down south. So he was taking a flight right after his booking in New York, and he had to crawl from the passenger seat up front into the back, into the trunk, like 3 different times to check if he had his belt. Did it like 2 or 3 different times to make sure he had the right gear. I'm like, bro, I'm right here. I can turn around and check for you. You've kicked me in the head 6 times now. Stop.
What? Yeah. Surely just be more organized. Not trying to teach you any lessons, but I I think the first ever time I forgot my gear bag was 2, 3 weeks ago. And that was literally driving to pick up Mordecai Shaw. I was so literally left my house. It was beautiful, sunny day. Temperature was fantastic. I put my Spotify on and it gave me a day list, and the first song it played was Britney Spears' "Stronger," and for me, that's a fucking anthem. So I had that blaring, and put it on in the car. I was driving. As I got to his, luckily, it was only about 10, 15 minutes from mine. I just literally turned my car off and went, I forgot my fucking gear bag. What the fuck? Britney made me go. Britney made me go crazy, and now
All
that's it.
right.
We just need to be more organized. Is the main thing.
All right. So when things get difficult for you, what is a memory that reminds you why you still love wrestling?
Um, I think it's just the opportunities and the amount of friends, the friends I've made in wrestling is that will always remind me. Like I know there's people who say you don't have friends in wrestling, they won't be there for you after everything that you've retired and stuff. But I definitely know I've got friends that I see who are in wrestling or outside of wrestling now that I will always have that bond with, and I think it definitely will be the thing of it's always made me feel that I've finally got somewhere where I can be me. Is the main thing. Like I get to be myself. I don't worry about things as much. I have control over what I do. I get to entertain people, get to make people smile, and that is genuinely a joy to myself as it is to people that I can do it for. Is what I feel. So I'd say that it's just genuinely like I've got the friends and stuff I need to always remember, and that's the nice thing about this is that continue to ride that wave, see how long we can go for it, and then afterwards reminisce on things and just watch stuff back and be like, that was pretty cool. That was fucking sick. I got to do that. I've achieved something in my life, and I really, really love that kind of thought process.
All right. Well, we've talked a lot about wrestling, but I want to get to know who Tim Lee is when wrestling is not in the room.
Mm.
Normally, I try and base these questions off of like background stuff, but you didn't give me that opportunity, so I'm winging it with these. So I'm a huge music fan, so a question I always love to ask is you are stuck on a road trip for your next booking, but you can only listen to 5 bands or artists. Who are you listening to?
Let's get it out of the way, mate. Breaking Benjamin, Polyphia, Mars Volta, Prince, and then probably Rush. Easy.
That was the quickest answer I've ever gotten.
I I have this arm. This you can see there's different things on
Mhm.
it, but this arm is going to be all dedicated to kind of musical tattoos. So there's like all these ones are bands or like inspiration to things that I love, music wise, and then this here is going to be like I got the hexagon design because I'm going to get everything wrestling tattooed on it
That's
into
pretty
these
cool.
little things. So like I have myself getting skewered in the head. Um and like I said, the Nick Mondo thing, I've got other little ones as well. They're all just references to things that I love in wrestling or things that I love about wrestling. So
That's
music
cool.
is one of the things that I absolutely adore music. I would say, and I think a lot of my friends would probably agree that I have the most eclectic, diverse music taste out of people because I will try and listen to everything or anything to give it a chance,
Yep.
and then be like, guys, I got these bangers. Have a go on these. Or if somebody goes, I need a music suggestion or shit, it's try this out. Tell me what you're feeling. And I'm very, very music is a huge
Yep.
influence in my life. So hence why that was a lot easier to answer than probably what you thought.
Yeah, no, I coincidentally going back to the tattoo talk, I have a few tattoos myself.
hmm
And I never realized when thinking about placement, all of the tattoos on the left side of my body represent somebody that was in my life that had passed away.
hmm
How far the tattoo is from my heart is how much they meant to me.
And
And I didn't realize that. Like that
that's
was
sick though.
the placement was completely like not random, but like just where I wanted it. And like I have a tattoo on my foot for my grandfather and he
Mm,
passed away when I was very young, so like I didn't really know him much, but he still like made an impact in my life. And then like one of my best friends had passed away, so like I have a tattoo for them on my wrist. And then like my grandmother passed away, so I have a tattoo like a little farther up on my wrist.
yeah.
And like however close they are to my heart is however close they were to me.
And that was purely
Completely random.
coincident. That's
Yep.
crazy good though, because that's such a cool story to tell.
And then all
Like,
of the tattoos on the right side of my body are music related. So like I have lyrics on my arm or I have like a tattoo on the back of my leg from like one of my favorite bands. But
what's your
totally did coincidental, never even choose it.
what's your favorite band though?
Mm, Uh, see, I can't pick like an all-time favorite. I do have a top 5. Well, it's more like a top 3.
Okay.
It but it changes every now and again, but Queen is definitely up there. I love Queen.
Fantastic choice. Great
And
choice.
then Panic at the Disco. I've
A good
always loved
choice.
Panic at the Disco. That's the tattoo on the back of my leg.
hmm
And then coincidentally, it's not my lyrics tattoo, but it's a different band. A Day to Remember. I've always
Oh,
loved A Day to Remember.
I one of my next tattoo ideas for this is I either want to get the the guy from the Homesick album cover.
Yes.
I want to get that or the sand timer. with and a day to remember
Coincidentally,
lyric.
before I started doing the podcast, I dabbled in graphics for a little while.
Okay.
And one project that I had taken on, like I made 8x10s, and let me see if I actually still have the image in my phone. But I had made designs for 8x10s. And
Yeah.
at the time, Marcus Mathers had been using All I Want for his entrance music. And I'm pretty sure he still does. I don't know why I said at the time. But anybody that's a fan of A Day to Remember knows that that song's from the Hourglass album, What Separates
Mhm.
Me from You. And I decided that I was going to try and recreate it, but put Marcus in the Hourglass.
Yeah.
And it ended up coming out pretty fucking cool.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I have the picture still. I have to find it. It's right here.
No, a day to remember is definitely one of my favorite bands.
But like, I recreated the cover art,
That's sick.
changed it to like Marcus, and I was like, yep. And then I decided that I was gonna like make all the album covers as Marcus.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a homesick, and then afterwards was when he got WWE ID'd and he didn't start coming around as often anymore. And then I kind of scrapped the whole project. So I was like, cool, podcast now.
Yeah. Fuck. No, a day to remember though. Very good choice. Queen and Panic at the Disco, but Queen, a fantastic choice to have. Absolutely.
All right. So, with you having a little bit of a comedy gimmick to you, I'm sure you know of plenty comedians, but
Hmm.
I want to know your top 3.
Um, if I had to name them off the top of my head, I'd say probably there's a UK comedian called Lee Mack. He definitely inspired me a lot for how quick witted that man is. As in, someone can say something and he has an instant response, and it was always amazing. Uh, no, Ricky Gervais. I get compared to Ricky Gervais a lot in the way that my mannerisms and things are because I grew up watching a lot of his stuff in certain TV shows and things he was in, and he also likes to just kind of say how he feels, say how he thinks when he's in his mode, and that inspired me a lot for that. My favorite was introduced to me by one of my American friends, and it's one that a lot of people don't know. You might know him, but his name's Mitch Hedberg, and I
Okay.
found Mitch Hedberg was just a very unique style of comedy where he made things like silly thoughts. It was almost like silly thoughts made them funny. Like he says jokes that are just like very quick paragraphs. A lot of people compare it to like shower thoughts of just things that you think of, and just like that makes sense, but I need to kind of say it out loud. One of the ones that he had that I always used to like, he said rice is really great if you're hungry and you want 2,000 or something. And it's like that's stupid. That's stupid to say, isn't it? But it's his delivery and how off he was and things he said that way. I still listen to because he used to do a lot of audio albums, so it was like he'd just have a lot of his sets done to CDs and sell them. And I remember a friend introduced me to it when we were on a road trip once, and I was like, "Who the fuck's this guy? This is like really, really funny shit." And then I started finding stuff, started watching him. But I absolutely love Mitch Hedberg. I'd say he's definitely up there as one of my favorites of all time, for sure.
I was always a Dane Cook girl. I love Dane Cook.
Dane Cook.
I'm like, I
Paper.
feel like everybody also has like their favorite bit too, and there's one bit from Dane Cook that I will never forget. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, we're going back to talking about dildos a lot today.
There's always listen. We can make this smokes and meteoras and cocks and dicks and phalluses and big rods. We can do whatever. We can change
But
this up, Marissa.
there's one bit, and I will forever call movies cinematic adventures because of this. But so he has a bit about taking a girl to a movies, and he calls it a cinematic adventure instead of the movie.
Yeah.
And like talks about like all the difficulties of having an indecisive girl going to the movies and getting snacks and shit like after you're already sitting down and after the
Mm.
movies start. And the one line that always stuck with me was like, once I went and got those damn like gold wrapped stupid chocolate coins for this damn bitch, I'm trying to get through the crowd. And I'm just afraid that it's dark out now. That somebody's just gonna come behind me and shove a dildo up my ass. And that is now an irrational fear of mine whenever I go to the movie.
It's that thing. It's like that thing of he's led you down such a thing of where's this going, and then
Yep.
that comes out as the shock value is fantastic. Like they used to be a joke that people said. I can't remember. There was a comedian over here. This is going to be very vulgar, but it's a joke that always stuck with me, and I found it funny. Or two, actually two. So it's a guy who says I was smoking a cigarette in my car and I flicked out the window, and I got worried that it had landed in the back seat because the window was open. So I turned around, and luckily it was just my grandmother fingering herself. And it's just like the sound of relief he says when he says it. It just completely took me. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that kind of relief. And then the other one is I don't want to drop his name, but it's the context he said it in. No, I will. Ollie. Ollie's one of my mates. He's the commentator for Progress, the mastermind Ollie Spring. We went to a show in Wales to support our friend, and I was under the influence of Mary herself, and having a great time, just enjoying my life. And he goes to his partner. We were just standing in the queue, and he said, "Oh, do you know seagulls die after they have sex?" And she was just like, "No, they don't." He goes, "Well, the one I fucked did," and it was just so out of context, and it's like something I'd heard before, but I literally had to walk off to bend over and hold on to something because I was crying that much. But it's as I said, the shock value jokes are the ones that, like Dane Cooks,
All right,
absolutely
cool.
love those
So
ones.
I've now found a new friend that I can send reels to.
Send them over. We
I
will
have the
exchange reels.
darkest humor, so
Trust me. Oh, my algorithm will probably give yours a run for its money as well, so we can exchange things like that. It's great.
yes. All right. So, what is something you have been like irrationally obsessed with or super passionate about recently outside of wrestling?
um, I mean, passion wise, I kind of want to like music, like listening to music and just always trying to be. That's kind of like a passion of mine is just trying to curate playlists or add to my playlist or learn as much as I can about different types of music because I feel like a lot of people kind of stick to the generic norm. So it's like whatever the charts say, whatever everybody listens to, whatever plays in like your supermarkets, your convenience stores when you go in and there's just songs playing. People stick to that, and I try and branch out as much as I can, especially with help from friends and family, into different things. Like so I have this tattoo here, which is like a kind of ocean with a sunset and everything, and that was for my sister. And she introduced me to a genre of music called Japanese city pop, and that has blown up over the last few years. And this is the shirt I'm wearing of a guy, and his name's Masayoshi Takanaka. He is a 70-odd-year-old Japanese man who plays a surfboard as a guitar. Um, but he's just very happy music, very fun. And he came over to the UK and he did a couple of things in America as well. And he blew up because people were just like, who the hell is this old guy and why is he wearing a suit and a surfboard as a guitar? Um, and we managed to get to see him for his first UK show, like solo show ever. And that's cool, especially like him being 73 years old. Like, didn't ever think it was going to happen. Happened in our lifetime. Fucking fantastic stuff. And I think that that's the passion of mine is to be able to just look around for all this stuff and just try all this different music. So when people come to me and go, "Oh, I listened to this," or "I'm bored of this. Can you suggest anything?" It's like, "Hey, I've got all this shit. I got everything. Like, try this or have a go on this and see what you think." Or, "Oh, I found this song. I thought you might like it." I feel like that's kind of like my I don't want to say like a love language, but I want to say it's like one of my things that I definitely connect with people on a lot more. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. And then video games. Like I've been obsessed with Guitar Hero ever since it like had the first opportunity to play it. I mean, I've got the buttons tattooed there because I wouldn't listen to half the music I do without playing those games and discovering new bands or being able to kind of like see all these things and be like, holy shit. Like my one of my favorite bands is Polyphia, and
Okay.
they're just an instrumental band. It's four lads, all play their instruments ridiculously technical amount. It's kind of like math rock, but really, really melodic and harmonized and everything. And I'm like, this is the shit. Um, they just released a new song today for the first time in 4 years, and so I'm like obsessed. I love them, but I would have never known about that band unless I played Guitar Hero because I was like, oh, there's this song. My friend suggested me to play it because I used to stream during like when COVID had happened and the world was locked down. We started getting into streaming, hence why this background's okay. I've got the setup and everything as well, but I used to get people to suggest things or like give them an option to request songs, and people had requested like my friend at the time requested a song. I played it for the first time. I was like, holy shit, this is like doing. I always find that music does things to my brain where it's like, it's hitting every single receptor to make me feel satisfied or that I'm feeling this, that my, like, I never had it when I was younger. Like, I used to love music and like dancing around and shit and being fun with it. But now there's just a certain thing to being like hearing songs and being like, if it makes me feel like I can make a face where I'm disgusted but happy, I'm gonna enjoy it. Like that's my shit. And Polyphia was that the whole time. So I'd say yeah, music and kind of Guitar Hero are the things which may be strange to say in 2026, but it's still a very popular game. Does the shit, and it helps me be me in that way.
Exactly. Without Guitar Hero, it would have taken a couple more years, but I would have never been introduced to Cult of Personality until CM Punk came around.
Exactly, and we knew it beforehand because we played it for years before that, so we knew the whole song.
Um, all right. So this may be a little different. I love to ask this to my American guests, and definitely want to ask it to international because I don't know the fast food scene over there besides like
Oh,
Nando's.
okay,
I know
okay,
Nando's. That's about it. So
okay.
you are given the opportunity of a lifetime, and they are giving you the Tim Lee value meal at any fast food establishment across the UK.
Ooh.
Where are we going with this, and what comes in the meal?
It'd have to be McDonald's. I mean, it's like a staple of service station cuisine over here. Um,
Of course, I mean, we,
I,
we got McDonald's too. I assumed you had that, but you guys tend to have a couple of different menu items.
yeah, you guys have different ones over there as well. So we kind of have different things as seasons. I mean, at the moment we've got something in called the Big Tasty, which is one. We get mozzarella dippers as well sometimes.
Love them.
Spicy cheese bites, things like that. But if it wasn't McDonald's, I think the other thought I'd have is we have a chain restaurant over here called Harvester, and it is elite level normal food, as in like just your regular kind of sort of bar food, kind of like you have your chicken ribs, burgers, start like all the stuff. But the elite part of a harvester, and I'm sure the UK people will agree, is that the salad bar at a harvester is one of the best things you'll ever have at a normal restaurant. So I think for mine being the Timley value meal, it would just be a curated salad bar bowl of all of my favorite things and accompanied by a Pepsi and possibly just a little edible topper of a promo photo of myself just to be like, here's my own meal is the main thing. But it would just be a curated salad bowl, a nice Pepsi, and an edible topper of my face, put looking great on top of the bowl as well, for sure.
All right. I had another question in mind, but now I'm blanking on what it was.
It's okay. Take your time. You do what you need to do.
Um,
I'll just stare at the camera.
you mentioned something about video games earlier, so I'm gonna go
Yes.
with that route. So, in the video game universe, you are now given the opportunity to have your own character in any video game. So, what video game are we entering, and what kind of character are you?
Oh, I'd like to be a playable character on a guitar. Like if it was a revitalized rock band or a Guitar Hero, I think my idea was I would be the main, like a tour manager or the antagonist in it, so that I'd always have a part. It's not like you're changing bands or things or touring around and I'm not the main star. It's kind of like I'm encouraging the person to be the best that they can be, and it's like that stuff. Uh, Other kind of games wise, apart from Guitar Hero, God, I think the cool thing for me in terms of like a special unlockable character would be like a Tony Hawk's game. like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater would be fucking sick because
Hell
I
yeah.
have as another tattoo. I have the Neversoft logo from the games, the people who made Tony Hawk's games. Because if I didn't play Tony Hawk's, I would have never ever really gotten into punk rock music, and that influenced a load of shit. So again, all of these are like references to things I love or bands that I love, and I do bigger ones because it's like Tony Hawk's was such a influential and definitely a developing game for my personality growing up. That being a character in that game would be fucking sick. That would be sick.
And like there's so many like older like punk, I'm gonna say classic rock for lack of better terms. But like from that game that like I'll be at work and like I bought a speaker for us at work. I work in a kitchen.
Okay.
And like we'll throw like random playlists on all the time.
Mm.
And like classic rock is one of the ones that we'll put on and we'll hear like cause I'm TNT. I'm like, yo, I know that from Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk's. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater when you're just starting off and they're teaching you how to do the lip plants and everything like that. I remember
Like
that distinctly.
Tony Hawk Underground, all the albums from all of those games were top tier.
Top tier curated soundtracks, absolutely. But that was such an influence on musically and what I love as well.
1,000%. So I usually do have one last segment of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to give you the option to do it. I normally ask before we hop on, but I totally forgot to. So it is a segment I like to call Promo Roulette, where I have you shoot a promo on the fly on a random cartoon character.
Oh shit! Okay, I'm down.
All right.
We'll see how this fucks up, but we'll go for it.
Let's jump in to Promo Roulette.
Oh fuck!
I love that music. Never miss playing that music. I love it. All right. So I don't really know if there's a difference between like UK cartoons and US cartoons. So I'm going to try and stay super basic with this. So it's at least somebody you're familiar with.
Okay.
Who do I want to go with? I'm going to end up going with somebody from Disney just to make it simple. There's no ideas for Disney shit in my fiance's room. This is terrible.
Oh no.
This is gonna come off the wrong way, and I really don't want it to, but you, for whatever reason, are reminding me of like Gaston's little sidekick from Beauty and the Beast. So I'm gonna go with Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. You remind me of Maurice. That's his name. Wait, no, is that his dad? Fuck. Is it Maurice? Is that his name, or is that the dad's name? It's gonna bug me now.
I'm gonna have to remember what Gaston looks like in the original one.
Gaston's the big hunky guy that's trying to win Belle over.
Boy, isn't he?
Yeah, the one that ends up trying to slay the beast.
All right. Okay.
Whenever you are ready. I'm just looking up what the sidekick's name is.
You just need me to go. Okay. Give it a second. Get into character. Let's talk to myself and
Ooh, that's his name.
You've got this. You've got to talk about Gaston. Gaston is your enemy. We're going to do something about it. We're allowed to swear. Cool. We've got it all down. Now, what's happening, people? It's your boy, Tim Lee, right here. The man of comedy strong style has to go against Disney's biggest muscular buffoon in Gaston. Well, let me tell you something about this gun show, my friend. It's time to shoot. You think you can slay the beast in me? Well, I'll tell you, the only beast that I've got is down these pants ready for your mum. After I slay you, my friend, in a match. Where is it going to be? Probably at the castle in front of Belle. Probably at the castle in front of the beast. And let me tell you, I'm going to look swaggericious doing it. Because Gaston, there's only one thing that's going down, my friend. The beast inside me is coming out into that ring. Comedy strong style will prevail. And let me tell you, the belle of the ball isn't going to be that beautiful woman in the yellow dress. It's going to be your boy, Tim Lee, winning against Gaston. The beauty is right here. And I'll see you out there, Gaston. you big bitch. Oh,
That was great.
and then I just go out like that. Yeah, that's it.
That was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I'm glad. I'm glad that worked.
I'm not gonna lie, it's not very often that I get good promos on here with that, but that was definitely in the top 3.
Can
I'll give
we?
you that.
We've got that on record. This is on record. That a top 3 is a top 3. There's a podium finish, lads. There's a podium finish, and round of applause for that's a great idea as well. I will say, promo roulette, fantastic idea. For sure.
I did start it off. So I had a podcast before this, and it was called Headlocks, Hot Dogs, and Handshakes.
3 great things all together.
And the hot dogs and handshakes thing was kind of like an homage to you guys, because that's how you get paid.
It is. It's top tier.
But I had previously done it where it was a random inanimate object. So like, I think I had JB Anderson is someone who always gives strong promos, and he was on that first podcast, and I'm pretty sure he ended up shooting a promo on like a fork or maybe bubbles or a rake or something. It was something totally random, but it was so good. And like, I made like a little championship thing out of it, and he ended up winning it. And then I scrapped it after I started this new one, and I changed it to cartoon characters. And I had JB back on, and he had shot a promo on a cartoon character. And again, it was I think it was Tommy Pickles. And it was phenomenal.
Tommy Pickles from the Rugrats.
Yep.
A pretty distinct. It's pretty distinct to say the least. Christ.
And then there was somebody else that I had on recently that did a really good promo, and I can't remember who the fuck it was, and it's gonna bug me now. I'm gonna have to go back and look, but it was so good. And I flat out told JB, I was like, it was Vic Craig.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive it was Vic Craig. And I was like, damn, dude, I think you just gave JB a run for his money. And one of the Bocce boys at the time from ICW was in the chat, and they had been watching it from Discord because they had a stream earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, no, we agree. That was a phenomenal promo. But no, that was great. I really enjoyed that. So
Success.
Thank you so much for joining us. I highly, highly appreciate it. Glad we could find a time that both worked for us.
Absolutely.
Time zone situation. But with that being said, seems we have a lot of your friends in the chat. So wherever you are going to be next, feel free to let us know. And if you are not in our area, where can we keep up with you on social media?
Fantastic. Appreciate the plug. So let's go back to another promo. Here we are. You're going to see me next. I've got a little bit of time off at the moment. I've got some personal things to do. I've got life. I've got to build up for the next match, because the next match I've got is in July 18th for Championship Extreme Wrestling, who you can find on Instagram, CXW CPW Wrestling Limited. You'll be able to find them if you follow me, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I have Facebook as Tim Lee Wrestler. Don't post on there too often. The best thing to do is follow me on Instagram. It's Tim Lee TV, all one word. The same with Twitter, but on Twitter, I don't really post much either. The only thing I really do on Twitter is I repost a lot of filthy bumps or great wrestling that I like. So if you want a curation of good media, absolutely follow me on the Twitter. But if you want updates on me, where I'm going to be and who you want to see, Comedy Strong Style can be found at Tim Lee TV on Instagram. But my next one is the death match, a world first that we're going to have, which I'll tell you about after this. But keep your eyes peeled on that. And if you can, pop us a follow, pop us a message. Always happy to talk, always happy to interact. And we'll see what goes on from there. Who knows? Maybe I'll be over in your neck of the woods sometime in the next year or so. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Here's hoping. So with that being said, we have a 8x10 giveaway to get out of here. And you mentioned his name during the podcast. I'm pulling out the big guns, and we are giving away a signed Gangrel metallic photo.
Oh, what a promo photo.
Fanging and banging, all right here on the bottom. I know most of you are probably in the UK. I'm still willing to ship it to you, even though it's going to cost an arm and a leg. So I'm doing this a little different this week. Doing it a little different. I normally have a code word for you guys to comment throughout the episode, but this week I'm going to do it first come, first serve. So for whoever is still here with us, I'm going to post my social medias in the banner at the top. As soon as we get off of this, the first one of you that is still in the comments, still watching at home, to message me and just say, Gangrel, you are getting this photo. So as soon as we hop off, I got to be off the stream. Don't do this while I'm live. Although my phone is right in front of me, I'm not going to check it. But as soon as we hop off, the first person to message me saying Gangrel is going to get this signed beautiful 8x10. And it's like clear as hell. One of the
It's
nicest photos of him you are ever going to get.
motherfucking gangers. That's top tier. That's great.
So
What
my
a
social
prize.
medias are at the top here. You can find me on X, Instagram, or Facebook. And I know YouTube just allowed direct messaging as well. So if you happen to have that feature and I can find where the hell my inbox is, you can try that. But your best bet's probably Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
Fair.
With that being said, we do have one more episode today. We will be coming back at 6 o'clock with another deathmatch friend of mine, my favorite, the Deathmatch Jesus, Dmitry Alexandrov. So we will be back at 6 o'clock with that. So about an hour and a half. And that is everything we have for you today. Thank you again to Tim Lee for joining us and being here. That's all we got. And we will catch you in a couple hours. Have a great day, guys.
Bye.